I had a thing about Shopify subscriptions the other day, like
Oh
kind of
yeah.
that went viral. I think
Oh
it got
yeah.
like
I saw
300.
that.
It was
Yeah,
it
you
was
had like Harvey, you had like the top dudes at Shopify replying to you and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Because I guess it kind of resonated with people because like subscriptions are just such a pain, and
Yeah.
and Shopify is like, oh, we've been working on it for for like two
Right.
years. Like they
Right.
literally
Right.
announced it in
Right. Right.
2019.
Right.
Um, so
Yeah.
that's interesting.
It yeah, I thought that was super. I actually looked into that thread of yours, and was like, wow, this is interesting. And I saw some of his replies, and then I
Hmm.
actually did an interview with Jordan Gall,
Yeah, from Cart
of Cardhook, and it
Mhm.
seems like there's like several people that are actually using it. It's being rolled out to like
Yeah.
it's like happening. But I totally understand like your like pet I guess pessimism,
Mm.
or what's the word for that? Like
Cynicism, pessimism or cynicism. Like I'll believe
one
it
of
when
the
I
two.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, cause like yeah, I mean they definitely have said that before, and
Yeah.
I think his
It's
reply was like, we wanted to really get it right. We wanted a really long lasting set of primitives to work with. I was like, "Ah,
hmm
sounds reasonable."
it
You know?
is interesting. I think that they're like the overarching principle is they're trying to create hooks into the checkout, whereas before they really didn't allow app developers to have access to the checkout at all.
Right,
So I mean, I understand why that takes time and it needs to be
right,
done
right,
correctly.
right.
It's so I think when it comes, I think it will be like really awesome.
Yeah,
But they have definitely like misled merchants because literally in 2019 at Unite
right,
said they said
right,
that it was going to be here before the end of the
right,
year. So
right, right,
they're
right,
literally like a year late.
right, right, right. And it sounds like, reading between the lines, you maybe had some clients that were depending on that, or like planning around that, and then
Yeah, actually,
like that.
it's interesting too. Like you mentioned Carthook, and some of our clients were going to use Carthook
Hmm.
at the beginning of this year,
Hmm.
and because we could have like the recharge and normal checkout unified, it was just the same checkout. It would go through Carthook, but
Right.
Shopify was like, no, no, don't do this.
Oh.
Do that. We have this thing coming. Like it's like right around the corner,
It's
right
all
around the
under
corner.
control.
Yeah,
It's right around the
and that was
corner.
like February. Yeah, and I was like, okay, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's cool that the cart hook is now like going to be a part of it instead of um it's there's a lot of apps and alternative checkouts like cart hook out there that
Hmm.
literally when you get to the checkout you
Hmm.
leave Shopify, you go
Hmm.
to a
Hmm.
checkout somewhere else, hosted
Hmm.
somewhere else. That's
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
the subscriptions do now. Like with
Hmm.
recharge it's just a whole other checkout.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, it was interesting because, like, on the podcast, Jordan was saying that when they first started, they wanted to integrate with Shopify's checkout, and there was
Yeah.
like an API sort of there, kind of, sort of, to do it, but then Shopify
Hmm.
told them not to use the orders API, do their own checkout, so they went that whole route, and then they like weren't sort of like so friendly with Shopify for whatever reason, because like they
Yeah.
were sort of whatever. And then he said just recently, like now they're just sort of like fully in the family now that they're and so it's kind of like full circle to how they wanted to do it from the beginning,
Yeah.
to finally be able to do that. By the way, this is the minisode.
You're right.
We've got
We've
we
started. Yes.
we've
Yeah.
started the minisode has started. At some point, I was actually, it's funny because I remember thinking to myself I wanted to talk to you about that specific tweet on subscriptions. I think
Right.
the last time we did it, and I forgot to. So I was like, "This is it. We're in the minisode."
We did it.
um,
Just
by the way, on the angle, I noticed you changed your angle, so you're
yeah.
looking the way I am. You're looking off
Yeah.
screen, and do
What do you think?
you? I like it. I like it. Like, um, I because I keep looking at videos and normally they're looking straight at
Hmm.
the camera. I
Right.
sort of can't do it because of my setup. Like my light will blind me if I do that. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
part of the reason. But I also like some of the in-person podcasts that I watch
Hmm.
are you're getting a side angle on them because they're looking at each other.
Right.
So I feel like maybe mimicking that is kind of
I
good, but I'm not sure.
I so like I noticed that you weren't looking at the camera, but also I was watching both of our videos together, and it just
Uh,
seemed awkward that we
that
weren't
one of them
looking.
was
Yeah, and even just like looking at me, like almost like I felt like I was staring off into the distance. It's like
mm-hmm,
almost looking at the camera, but
mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
not quite. I'm probably like looking slightly below it because I have a
Right,
screen below
right,
it.
right,
I
right,
feel
right,
like
right,
this
right,
is
right.
more natural. Like people don't necessarily like if you give them like direct eye contact.
Yeah, it's like a bit much. Like there's something
Yeah,
that's like
too intense.
so do you think it's better like this, both
Hmm.
off angle, or it's better both direct?
I think it's better like this. What we're
Okay,
doing,
I think so too.
like
I think so
yeah.
too.
I
I
I
think
think.
it's
Well, go ahead.
oh no 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 go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think if we were like on the news, if you like the news when they do interviews, people are just like
Yes.
staring
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
straight at
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for this kind of thing of like a conversation, I feel like it is, you know,
Right.
you could almost like draw a line of like, oh, they're looking at each other basically.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It kind of feels like trying to approximate that.
Hmm.
Um, basically, I'm trying to approximate like an in-person conversation as much as
Yeah,
humanly possible. Um, but it's kind of tricky to do. But like that's the reason why I'm not live streaming it because then the
yeah,
quality is so it's like
yeah.
yeah.
Right. And I,
So
I think your method of like chopping it up too is a better presentation. People can consume,
yeah,
a couple minute chunks better than they
yeah,
say like a 45-minute YouTube video. They're like, yeah, I'll
yeah,
watch this
yeah.
later.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so then let's talk about the what was it called? The
Cloudflare.
Cloudflare. Yes, the Cloudflare
Yes.
worker stuff.
Yeah. Do
Because
you
I know
know
you
anything
do
about worker? Yeah.
tiny. I mean, I not really. Like I know like about like I think of like Lambda worker
Yep.
processes or whatever. And I think we talked a little bit
Hmm.
about that. How you've built out some different things to integrate with your Shopify workflow, like little tools and microservices to do things like detecting changes in themes or maybe syncing things up.
Yep.
Um, and then you were saying something new came out for Cloudflare that sounds like kind of makes that process easier or
Yeah. Well,
kind of a
so the concept of Cloudflare workers is very similar to Lambda, AWS Lambda, where it's a serverless architecture of
right,
basically these tiny little scripts, usually written
right,
in like Node.js, that
right,
just run like on the
right,
fly. There's
right,
no, infrastructure.
right,
Um, so on the surface, Cloudflare is very similar, but
right.
it can do more than that. And one element is you can write Cloudflare workers to intercept calls that are going to your regular website,
Hmm.
um, and basically interpret it. So it's like uh, you're going to a homepage, and
Right.
you could write a worker to intercept that and basically replace all the instances of the word Mark with Caitlin. Yeah,
What? That's wild. And it
yeah,
does it at the edge? Like
yes,
it
exactly. Hmm.
what? That's
Right,
insane.
because it's your CDN, but it in like a proxy.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can kind of imagine like how many things that you could do with that kind of power at the edge.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, like
Wow, that is pretty
there's
cool.
there's a lot of script to like replace Google fonts with like directly embedding them into the HTML, um,
Right.
that kind of
Right.
thing.
Right, right, right. That's really cool. So,
Hmm.
are there specific things with your Shopify tooling that you're going to be able to tie up to that?
Yeah. So the biggest thing, and I think I talked about a little bit last time, is consuming the GraphQL front-end API.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, where you can't directly access it through like a JavaScript on Shopify because of cores, the like kind of the access restrictions. So we
Mhm.
can write workers to reach out to the Shopify API and then reformat it too, because GraphQL kind of spits back the data in a little weird format. I'm not sure if you've noticed that. It's like
Mhm.
there's node edges and it's weird. It doesn't feel like normal JSON. So we kind of like
Mm.
reinterpret it to kind of pretend like it's more of a REST API, and we
Mhm.
can also put like caching on that so that we're not hitting the Shopify API so much.
So then is your CloudFront sort of interception worker thingy, is it intercepting the GraphQL API response from Shopify and then tweaking it a little bit and allowing your front end to consume it directly?
Um,
Or are you
it,
intercepting your Shopify front end and doing something there?
in this particular case, it's not really even intercepting. It's just kind of a totally separate script. I could have written this in like Lambda. It's
Oh,
basically
okay.
it's like a new
So it's
endpoint that we've created. Like it's a custom API. Um,
Oh, okay. So it can be
that
done in
yeah
Lambda. There's nothing unique about Cloud,
yeah
like the way you would use Cloudflare in that instance.
yeah. In that instance, I think it's pretty standard Node.js, but we just don't have
Gotcha.
to. We don't have to host that middleware anywhere. And a lot of our clients already use Cloudflare,
Right.
so it's easy to just use this existing
It's just a more
infrastructure.
convenient place to use it. And do they
Mhm.
charge for it or is it,
They
yeah,
do, but they have a free tier, and it's really cheap.
it's a
Like,
great free tier. Nice.
oh yeah, yeah. And even when if eventually you have to pay for it, it's just like it's just pennies, fractions of pennies. Um,
Nice.
So the its cost
Nice.
hasn't been an issue.
Right,
And the,
right.
the the new thing that they announced that I was tweeting about was crons for the workers. So
Hmm.
basically, now in addition to you can write this worker, you can say, oh, I want it to automatically execute on a
Hmm.
schedule, like a
Hmm.
cron schedule.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so yeah, it's really useful. It's just kind of like a
Nice.
all in one tool.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. Well, I think that'll conclude this mini-sode. We're up to
Great.
19 minutes,
Woo.
1.8 gigs.
Nice.
So I'll download this all and hopefully, here, let me pause.